Those who suffer the most in life, those who meet adversity, are the lucky ones. Those are the ones who are forced through circumstance to adapt and to fight and to scrap and claw in order to get where they need to go, in order to meet their goals, in order to sometimes put a meal on the table after perhaps days without a meal. Those are the ones who learn how to fight because they have no choice. And adversity comes from all directions. That's pretty much life for many people in this world. And then there are those who they get on the right, they get on the a lucrative, prosperous, good timing, and everything kind of goes right. They don't meet a lot of adversity, and they perhaps live a sort of conventional life, playing golf and that sort of thing, taking vacations. And maybe it appears from the exterior that they aren't suffering as much as anyone else, but oftentimes they have their own private battles that we don't hear about. And so that's just the way life is. Everybody's got problems and everybody's facing adversity, but some people face more, and they have the greatest opportunity to achieve their own personal glory in life, to fight and to win and create memories and learn to adapt and learn to overcome all kinds of adversities. But ultimately, time runs out on all of us, and then comes sometimes, quite often, the big fight. The big fight. That's the fight nobody wants. Very few people want that. There are the martyrs, but they're the exception. And so Jack London wrote a story called The Law of Life. And in this story, he's really focusing on the law of death in a way. He's focusing on, it's a story about Kukush, who's an old man up in the Arctic, whose tribe has basically, he's an old man. He's slowing down the tribe, okay? And the way it works in a Jack London novel, when a native old man is slowing down the tribe, they just leave him behind to die. And the reason they do that is that's the law of life. It's like, if you're a wildebeest in Africa and you're wounded, well, guess what? That's the one the lion is going to catch. You don't have to outrun the lion. You just have to outrun the rest. You just have to outrun that other wounded wildebeest, and then you could survive if you're a wildebeest, because the lions will get the wounded one. And that's how it works up in Alaska. They leave Kukush because basically this old man finally he left his own father many moons before, and now it's his time, and so he's being left behind to die. And so this story is basically he has maybe 24 hours before the firewood runs out. He's got a little campfire, and then the cold will kill him. Doesn't have enough food. He might last a few days if he wants to, but his time is running out quickly. He figures he's got about maybe 24 hours at the most, maybe 12 hours, because once that firewood runs out, the wolves are going to close in, and he knows it. And he hears them howling in the distance. And so that's what the story is about. It's about Kukush reflecting on life. And he reflects on one story in particular I want to share with you, because I think it tells us something, a key of survival in life, a key of survival. And this story is where Kukush basically he puts another a piece of wood on the fire and starts reflecting, and he remembers back in time when he was just a boy, and he remembers that he was out. He was on the trail, and they spotted a scene. They spotted blood on the trail, and the ground was torn up, and they realized what was going on here. And there was hoof prints, but there was also paw prints, and they realized that a great moose was being pursued by a whole pack of wolves. Okay, they were being pursued by a pack of wolves and this moose was an old moose, obviously, because it was being pursued and wounded. And so Kakush followed the trail. They followed the trail of blood to see what they were going to see what happened. And the trail spoke. The trail spoke to them. It told them what was happening. And it says here he was with Zingha, who was considered later on to be a great hunter. But an old one, Zingha said, an old one cannot keep up with the herd. The wolves have cut him out from his brothers, and they will never leave him. In other words, those wolves are going to fight him. They will never give up. They will never quit. They're going to hunt down and kill that old moose. Human survival is more complicated than that. We're not like the old moose because we don't have to just get old in order to run into problems. Life is more complicated. Um, we have various weaknesses and problems, financial problems. We have relationship problems. We have all kinds of problems. And so hit me in the discussion below. Let me know what you think. What other kinds of problems do people face? What do you think is the greatest problems that young people face today? Let me know in the discussion what you think about that, because we have a different sort of battle than the old moose does. And so it says here, London writes they were on the heels of the chase, Kakush and Zingha. Now they came to where the moose had made a stand. Okay, the moose made a stand. This moose was fighting for its life, and this is really a lesson for us. It says the length of the grown man's body in every direction had the snow been trampled and about and up tossed. So the ground was all torn up, a big area, and it was just torn up all over the place. In the midst were the deep impressions of the splay hoofed game, and all about that everywhere were lighter footmarks of the wolves. Some, while their brothers hurried the kill, had lain to one side and rested. So they're reading the scene here. They see where some had laid and watched the fight while the others attacked the moose. The full stretched impress of their bodies on the snow was as perfect as though it was made just moments before. One wolf had been caught by a wild lunge of the maddened victim and trampled to death. A few bones, well picked, bore witness. So after one of the wolves was killed by a hoof, then the wolves descended on it. They descended on their own, and they ripped it to shreds just like they do. They'll devour their own. They devour weakness, and there's something that's a warning about life. Okay, that's a warning. Now we have to be ready to fight against adversity in our own lives at any time. Pretty much we have to have a fighting mentality, because every day is a battle, little battle. Sometimes it's just a little battle, doing the right thing, doing that extra bit of work, whatever it is. We have to fight, though. We have to remember that wolf. We have to remember that moose that was fighting this epic battle with the wolves, throwing them off, kicking them, thrashing around, ripping up the ground, fighting the most epic battle of its life, literally fighting for its life. We have to remember that wolf, and we have to put some passion into our own battles every day, and we can't just put in a half-hearted effort. London writes, again, they ceased to uplift their snowshoes at a second stand. Here, a great animal had fought desperately. Are we fighting desperately for our own battles on a daily basis, for our own goals? Or are we just going through the motions? Imagine if that moose just went through the motions with no passion. That fight wouldn't have lasted very long. And if you're going to die, you may as well go out with a glorious fight. Twice he had been dragged down, as the snow attested, and twice had shaken his assailants clear and gained footing. Once more, he had done his task long since, but nonetheless was life dear to him. Zingha said it was a strange thing, a moose once down to get free again, but this one certainly had. So this moose had fought like no other moose, because normally a moose, once it's down, but this moose had got up twice. It was fighting like no other moose that Zingha had ever seen, and he was later called a great hunter. So all right. London writes, and yet again they come to where the moose had made to mount the bank and gain the timber. So the moose is still fighting. He's gaining the timber now. But his foes had laid on him from behind till he reared and fell back upon them, crushing too deep in the snow. So he's climbing up this bank to get up in the timbers, and dogs are lunging at him, and he rears up and falls back and crushes two of the wolves right during the fight. And still he gets up in the timber. Then they heard the second sounds of the battle. Now they're getting close. Then they heard the first sounds of the battle. So the kids are following the sign. Now they're hearing the fight because they're not far behind now. Not the full-throated chorus of the chase, but the short, snappy bark which spoke. The short, snappy bark which spoke of close quarters and teeth to the flesh. So they're really getting close to the fight, this epic battle of this moose trying to fight for its life. And then, so this is the story that Kakush is remembering as he sits there. Realize he's an old man now, and he's sitting out there. He's been abandoned by his tribe. They've left him in the Arctic, deep in the Yukon, and it's soon going to be probably 60, 70 below. His fire is going to go out. And he sees the wolves are coming for him now. They're closing in. London writes, then in his darkened eyes was projected the vision of the moose, the old bull moose, the torn flanks of the bloody sides, the riddled mane, and the great branching horns down low and tossing to the last. He saw the flashing forms of gray, the gleaming eyes, the lolling tongues, and the slavered fangs. And he saw the inexorable circle of those as it became dark point in the mist of the stamped snow. So now he's been remembering this fight. Now it's happening to him. And the moose, the ring, it says here, a ring of crouching, jaw-slobbered gray was stretched around about him. So a pack of wolves is surrounding him. And he grabs, well, I'm not going to tell you, I won't tell you how it ends in case you read the story, but I will tell you that he fights, and so that's kind of what the story is about. That Jack London writes this story about fighting to the end. We all face adversity, but this moose made a stand. It made a last stand, and that's what we need to do also. We need to make a last stand and fight like our life depends upon it. Now, keep in mind that that's not the way it is for us. In most cases, we're going to be around for weeks, years, months, a long time. So we don't want to burn our candle on both sides at all times. We need to pace ourselves a little bit, but we need to fight every day like it's the battle of our lives. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hit that like button if you like this kind of video.